Hello students, and welcome to the next module of Bootstrap coding with me. This is the module 24th, and in this module 24th what we will be covering is the concept of forms. Now forms is a very vital element in any web page that you create. When we have done our HTML module, and we also did our CSS and JavaScript, we have covered forms in detail. We have seen how the forms gets created. And in the HTML, for example, we have seen creating the different controls of a form. How about if you had a text? We discussed we will be using the label tag. How about if it's a text box? We have seen that we can create it using the input. For a button, we have discussed we will be using input type is equal to button. So we have been looking at all these different controls one by one, and in this and CSS module told us how you can make a bit fancy forms, give some proper text alignment and everything. And the JavaScript has actually told us how we can make our forms dynamic. And in all these forms, students, whenever you create, you will always have an action. And what will that action do? It will link your form to a .php file. And this PHP file, basically what it's going to do is, take all the information that you have given in the form, combine it together, and what next? It will help you to submit the details, whatever the user has entered. So another application of the form could be where, let's say, it's a login form, and as you have, I am very sure you would have used the login form in different banking applications also. So we'll have a username, we have a password, we've got a login button, which if the user has given correct values will help the user to log in. We've got a cancel button, and finally a remember me checkbox. So what does that mean? If you have given the correct information and you click on remember me and log in, next time when you will log in, it will actually remember your credentials, hence save your time. So what we are going to look at next is, now we will be looking at the different actions which are available when the forms are used. Okay, so we've got, as I already explained you, label, we've discussed, we've got the input functions which we will be using. We will also be using a class which is known as form control. So we're going to cover this also, and we will be also looking at different elements like giving a unique ID to your controls, and we will look at the classes which we are going to use. So in this practical example which I'm going to show you, I'm going to actually show you how we can create a basic login form. So my login form which I'm going to create, just before I start explaining this code, I hope this is very much clear as to how you can just link your HTML page with the Bootstrap. And as you can see, what I have done here is I have used a container class which we have already covered in the previous modules. This is the heading which says it's the login page. So when I'm going to run this program, the heading which is there on this page will be the heading of the login page. And then, as I explained you when we were doing the theory action, whatever information you will submit, this might go to a server or maybe connected to a database, and store all the information that you store. All right, and as we discussed, we'll be using form group, which is basically an indication which tells us that we are making a form. And then looking at the different concepts here, we've got a label for the email. So when we created the login form, we have an email which is the label, which is the text, and for this email label we have also got a text box. Okay, similarly for the password we have got another text box. Is it making sense? Yes. And we've got a login button. Where is that login button? That is the submit, the submit button that we have, and a remember me option, just a checkbox which says remember me. So this is how we can create different controls. And if you are a bit concerned about what is this ID, as I explained before, it's a unique ID that you give to each and every control. It's like a student ID, each of the students in a university have got a unique ID. So similarly, this is a unique ID which we will be giving. Okay, now remember that in case you want to create The labels, you will be using the label tags as I'm using for the email and the password. And in case you want to create input boxes, text inputs, it could be input type is equal to email. You can have one for the password and similarly one for the checkbox. Okay, sounds interesting. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically save this code, and pretty much simple. Let's save this code and let's run our program. The file has got updated, so you can see that I've got a simple login form. We'll be doing more intricate forms in upcoming module, but you can see that I've got the email and I've got an option of passwords. Do you see that? And what a beautiful thing this Bootstrap gives us, that there is an inbuilt I symbol. You know, the password that the user has entered with Bootstrap, you can just create it. You got a remember me, you can click on the submit. You can see it's no file is found because we have not linked it to the PHP. The text for the remember me is missing. So let's look at the code. Here we go. We need to actually provide the remember me option also. So we can just make changes. And similarly, you know, you can make it more readable form by providing email, password option, and you can save your program. Now when you run the program again, you will see that the fields have come. You can see email, there is a suggestion text, you have a password, a remember me, and a submit. So I hope this module of creating simple forms using Bootstrap is clear. What we are going to do next is we'll come up with the next concepts of JavaScript of the Bootstrap in the next module. So please stay tuned and don't go away. Thank you and goodbye.